Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging into the world of laboratory gas generators, focusing specifically on the market as it looks in, well, 2025.
Right. And it's already quite something. The data we're looking at, mostly from cognitive market research, puts it at what? USD 539.84 million?
Exactly. USD 539.84 million. So our mission today is really to, dissect this market. Where is it now? Where's it heading?
And what's really driving it all?
Precisely. And to kick things off, here's something maybe a bit surprising. You might picture labs full of gas cylinders.
The classic image.
But actually, there's a really significant trend towards labs just generating their own gases right there on site.
Yeah, that's a huge point. That traditional way, getting cylinders delivered, storing them, it's being challenged.
How so?
When you look at the practical side and how the generator tech has improved, making your own gas when you need it, it just offers some really compelling advantages. Less hassle, maybe safer too.
Okay, so nearly $540 million in 2025. That's the baseline. But where's it going? What's the forecast look like?
The projections show some pretty substantial growth, actually. By 2033, the market's expected to hit USD 941.50 million.
Wow, okay. Almost $1 billion.
Yeah. That works out to a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR, of 7.20% between 2025 and 2033.
7.20% CAGR. What does that actually mean in simple terms?
Think of it like the average growth each year, smoothing out the ups and downs. So growing by about 7.2% consistently year on year for that whole period.
Got it. A 7.2% average yearly increase. That sounds, well, pretty healthy. What's pushing this kind of growth?
A big one, according to the report, is automation. More and more labs are bringing in automated equipment.
Makes sense. Robots need reliable inputs.
Exactly. These sophisticated systems, they need a really consistent, reliable gas supply. On-site generators provide that. They integrate much more easily with automated workflows than, swapping out cylinders.
Right. Imagine a robot arm trying to change a gas tank.
Yeah.
Not ideal.
Precisely. An on-site generator gives you that direct, controllable supply right when the machine needs it. Seamless supply for seamless automation, as you said.
Okay, that logic tracks. So let's zoom out a bit. The global picture in 2025, where's the action concentrated?
Right now, North America is the leader. It accounts for over 40% of the global revenue.
Over 40%. What's the dollar figure on that?
It's about USD 199.74 million for 2025. But interestingly, their projected growth, the CAGR to 2033, is a bit more modest, around 5.7%.
Okay, so North America is the current heavyweight, but maybe not the fastest growing. Who's next?
Europe, they're number 2, holding over 30% of the global revenue. That translates to about USD 156.55 million in 2025.
And their growth.
A little higher than North America's actually, expected CAGR of 6.2%.
Right. And then there's the Asia-Pacific region, APAC. What's happening there?
Okay, so APAC currently has around 23% of the global revenue, market size roughly USD 129.56 million in 2025.
So smaller than Europe for now.
For now, yes. But here's where the growth story really gets interesting. APAC is projected to have the fastest CAGR. We're talking 9.9% between 2025 and 2033.
Wow, 9.9%. That's significantly higher than North America or Europe. What's fueling that kind of acceleration in APAC?
It's a few things coming together. You've got the expanding industrial base in many countries there.
Right. Manufacturing, tech.
Exactly. Plus, there's a big push, both government and private sector, investing heavily in R&D. Think about the boom in pharma and biotech in places like China and India.
I mean, you need a lot of lab gas.
Absolutely do. And there's also this growing focus on sort of local production, reducing reliance on imports. That plays into it too.
That paints a really clear picture. Future growth seems heavily tilted towards Asia. Can we drill down even more within APAC? Which countries are the standouts?
China and India are definitely key players, as you might expect. China's market in 2025 is around USD 54.42 million, growing at a strong 9.4% CAGR.
Still very high.
And India, while smaller overall at about USD 12.96 million, has an even more impressive projected CAGR 11.8%.
11.8%. That's huge.
It really is. And you also see strong potential in places like South Korea, Australia. It's a dynamic region for this market.
A real engine of growth then. What about the other regions? South America, Middle East, Africa, how do they fit in?
Okay, so South America has just over 5% of the global revenue. That's about USD 20.51 million, with a projected CAGR of 7.9%. Brazil is a major player there.
Brazil's number.
About USD 8.78 million, growing at 8.5%. In the Middle East, around 2% of revenue, roughly USD 21.59 million market size. Also growing quite fast, 8.5% CGR.
Any specific countries driving that in the Middle East?
Saudi Arabia and the UAE are highlighted. They're expanding research, healthcare, driving demand. Saudi's at about USD 7.6 million, 8.8% growth. UAE around USD 4.45 million, 9% growth.
Interesting. And Africa?
Africa is the smallest region for this market, about 1% of global revenue, so around USD 11.88 million. The projected CAGR is 7.5%. South Africa is the biggest market within the continent.
Okay, so growth across the board, really, but with APAC leading the charge percentage-wise.
That's the picture, yeah.
So we've got the map laid out. Let's talk tech. The products themselves. What are the main types of gas generators we're talking about?
The main ones you see are hydrogen generators, nitrogen generators, oxygen generators, zero-air generators, and purge gas generators.
And is there one type that's more dominant?
The report suggests that hydrogen gas generators are expected to hold the largest slice of the market currently.
Hydrogen. Interesting. Why do you think that is? Fuel for instruments.
That's a big part of it, yeah. Things like gas chromatography detectors often use hydrogen, but there are other uses too.
Okay. Is that picture changing? Are certain types growing faster than others?
Yes, definitely. While hydrogen might have the biggest share overall right now, nitrogen gas generators are flagged as the fastest growing segment.
Nitrogen growing fastest. Why the surge in nitrogen?
Well, nitrogen is incredibly versatile in the lab. It's used as a carrier gas for sample prep, blanketing, lots of applications. Plus, the technology for generating high-purity nitrogen efficiently has really matured.
Okay, so hydrogen is king for now, but nitrogen is the heir apparent, maybe.
You could sort of put it that way, yeah. In terms of growth rate, absolutely.
All right, so how are these gases actually being used? What are the big applications in the lab?
Gas chromatography, or GC, holds the largest market share application-wise. It's a workhorse technique in many labs.
And it needs specific gases.
Right. Often nitrogen as a carrier gas to move the sample through the system, and sometimes hydrogen as a fuel for detectors like the FID.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Any other big applications, especially growing ones?
Yes. Liquid chromatography, mass spectrometry, LCMS, is highlighted as a really rapidly expanding area.
LCMS, that's a very powerful technique.
Incredibly powerful and incredibly sensitive. It's used to identify and measure tiny amounts of substances in liquids, and for that sensitivity, you need extremely pure gases.
Ah, so the generator's quality is critical there.
Absolutely critical. Even tiny impurities in the gas can mess up the results. So high-purity on-demand generation is almost essential for reliable LCMS.
Okay, so complex analysis is a big driver. Who are the actual customers then? Which industries are buying these generators?
The biggest slice of the pie belongs to the life science sector. So think pharmaceutical companies, biotechnology companies.
Drug discovery, quality control.
Exactly. All that requires rigorous analysis, which needs reliable gases. But the food and beverage sector is also pointed out as a rapidly growing end user.
Food and beverage, how are they using them?
Quality control again, checking for contaminants, product consistency. Also, things like modified atmosphere packaging to extend shelf life often uses nitrogen.
Right, keeping your snacks fresh. Okay, makes sense. Let's pivot a bit now to the why. What are the big market drivers pushing this whole expansion?
There are quite a few, and they often link together. First off, just generally, increased spending on R&D globally. More research means more need for analytical tools.
And those tools need gas.
Pretty much. Secondly, regulators are demanding more and more rigorous analytical data, especially for things like drug approvals. That pushes labs towards better, more reliable gas sources.
Higher standards mean better equipment needed. Got it. What else?
Okay, here's an interesting one. The increasing interest in using hydrogen as an alternative to helium.
Ah, because helium is getting expensive and harder to source.
Exactly. Helium is finite, supply can be uncertain, so being able to generate hydrogen reliably on-site looks increasingly attractive for applications where it can substitute for helium.
That's a potential game changer.
It could be. And then there's the whole sustainability angle. Green labs.
How do generators fit in there?
Well, think about it. Generating gas on demand means no more trucks delivering heavy cylinders, no storing those cylinders, less risk of leaks. It significantly cuts down the carbon footprint compared to traditional supply.
Right, less transport, less waste potential. That's a big plus these days.
Definitely. And don't forget medical applications. Things like cannabis testing labs. That's a growing field requiring nitrogen or hydrogen for accurate analysis. That adds to the demand.
Okay, anything else driving this?
Safety regulations. Stricter rules about handling high-pressure gas cylinders in labs, definitely favor on-demand generation. It just removes a lot of those hazards. High regulatory compliance needs push towards safer options.
So it's science, economics, environment, and safety, all pushing in the same direction.
That's a good summary, yeah. It's a convergence of factors.
But surely it's not all smooth sailing. Are there things holding the market back? Any restraints?
Yeah, there are a couple of main ones. The big one is the upfront cost.
Ah, the initial investment.
Right. Buying and installing a generator system isn't cheap. Even if it saves money in the long run through lower operating costs and no cylinder rentals, that initial capital outlay can be a hurdle, especially for smaller labs or academic institutions.
Makes sense. Budgets are always tight. What's the other restraint?
It's partly inertia, you could say, a reluctance to switch from the traditional gas supply methods they're used to.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Kind of. Existing infrastructure, established procedures, maybe just familiarity. It can make labs hesitant to change, even if the new way is better on paper.
Understandable hurdles. Cost and comfort with the status quo. So looking forward then, what key trends are likely to shape this market?
Well, a lot of the drivers we talked about are basically becoming ongoing trends. That increased demand for medical applications like cannabis testing, that's set to continue.
Okay.
And the push from safety regulations and compliance needs, that's only likely to get stronger, further boosting on-demand systems.
So safety and medical needs continue to rise. Any tech trends?
We might see more development in integrated systems, maybe one unit that can generate multiple types of gas that could save space and complexity in the lab.
Multi-gas units.
Hmm?
Interesting. Now, who are the actual companies making these things? What's the competitive landscape like?
The report says it's highly competitive. You've got big global players alongside smaller, more regional specialists.
Can you name a few of the key players?
Sure. Names like Parker Hannifin, Angstrom Advanced, Perkin-Elmer, Peak Scientific Instruments, Nel ASA, AirDo, Nitrogenium, FDGSI, Airgas Inc. Those are some of the main ones mentioned.
That's quite a list.
Yeah, and the report also mentions there are other significant companies involved, but their details are confidential. So it's a busy space.
Sounds like it. Any recent examples of what these companies are doing? Innovations, new products?
Yeah, a couple were highlighted. Back in July 2021, Scientific Laboratory Supplies launched a new range called SLS Lab Pro gas and liquid nitrogen generators aimed at the UK and Ireland. They specifically mention reducing the need for transporting canisters.
Focusing on that logistics and safety benefit.
Exactly. And more recently, July 2023, Peak Scientific Instruments brought out their Corona 1010A nitrogen generator. They were really pushing its high purity and high flow rates.
Targeting those demanding applications like LCMS we discussed.
Precisely. So you see companies competing on convenience, safety, and performance specs.
Those examples really bring it to life. Okay, let's circle back quickly to the geography. You said North America dominates now, but APAC is growing fastest. Can you just recap the why for those two?
Sure. North America's lead in 2025, it's largely down to the heavy concentration of big pharma, biotech, and chemical firms there. Lots of R&D, strict quality control.
Yeah.
They need the tech. Plus, established infrastructure.
Right, the established base.
Then APAC's fast growth, that's fueled by the expanding industrial sector across the region, big jumps in R&D investment, and just the rapid buildup of scientific capabilities, especially in places like China and India.
So, established powerhouses versus rapidly emerging ones. Clear dynamic.
Exactly. That captures it well.
Well, this has been a really, really insightful deep dive. To kind of wrap it up, it seems like this laboratory gas generator market is really set for significant growth. Driven by automation, the need for super pure gases, sustainability, safety, and particularly seeing huge expansion potential in Asia-Pacific.
That sums it up nicely. The move towards making gas on-site seems pretty undeniable. It just offers too many benefits for modern labs to ignore.
And that really leads us to a final thought for you, our listener. Given all these advantages, the tech improvements, are we watching a fundamental shift? Could on-demand generation just become the standard way labs get their gases?
Making those bulky, potentially hazardous cylinders a thing of the past in the lab.
Yeah. And if that happens, what does that mean for how research is done? For lab efficiency, safety, even the kinds of experiments that become easier to run? It's just something interesting to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.